Chapter 2, Me as an Adolescent and Me as an Emerging Adult. Chapter summary. No. Adolescence is the developmental period of transition between childhood to adulthood. It begins approximately around 10 to 12 years of age and ends around 18 to 21 years of age. The reason why this stage is very significant is because this stage, this developmental stage, is the transition stage between childhood and adulthood, in which many types of changes will eventually be experienced by the person. So the very notable among these changes, of course, would be the physical stage. Hormonal changes accounts for many of the changes within the human body during the stage. Certain hormones increase dramatically during during puberty. Testosterone for the males and estrogen for the female. So these hormones help develop the physical changes in a person's body. Hormones account for also some of the emotional fluctuations during adolescence, especially with the females, wherein their depression and anger are notably more powerful or to some extent very extreme during the stage. In terms of brain development, changes on brain functions are observable during the stage. Formal operational stage. Adolescents undergo significant cognitive changes. According to Piaget, adolescents enter a fourth stage in development, which is what we call the formal operational stage. And one of the most notable characteristic of this stage would be the concept of idealization, by which during this time a person is actually capable of the process of idealization in their heads, in their mind. So at this stage, a person would think about the ideal scenarios about life, ideal work, ideal partner, ideal lifestyle, ideal body image, and so on and so forth. So these idealizations help propel a person towards what they really want in life. Thus, it's very important. And for some reason, this idealization concept, if a person's process towards idealization or realizing these idealized states are frustrated, they tend to revert to what we call escapism na method, in which they use these idealized scenarios as a way to escape the reality rather than pursue it on the real setting. Another concept would be egocentrism. In this stage, an adolescent's thought process are egocentric, meaning self-centered. Their thoughts involves beliefs that others are as preoccupied with them as they are of themselves, and they think of themselves as unique individuals, and that one is invincible. Egocentrism causes adolescents to think that others are noticing and watching them. Egocentric thinking causes the individual to have this sense of invincibility, where he or she is invincible to any harm or danger, thus causing the individual to behave in a high-risk manner and indulge in risky behavior such as premarital sex, smoking, drinking alcoholic beverages, and to some extent some try out drugs, illegal drugs, and even adopt a lifestyle of delinquency, which is very dangerous. If you look back to what we discussed on chapter 1, it was said that we enter through what we call the psychological birth and the physical birth. During the physical birth, at the first 3 years of age of a person, the mindset is actually egocentric. But on the psychological birth, the same gyapon, psychological birth lang, wherein yung mindset sa tao, not a baby na, but rather an adolescent na, but nibalik ang mindset of what we call egocentric na mindset. No? So, and according to Erickson, during this stage, we explore, various status towards what we call towards our own identity. So we have the first is identity diffusion, the second identity foreclosure, third identity moratorium, and fourth identity achievement. Number 1, identity diffusion. A person has not yet explored meaningful alternatives and has not made a commitment. Many adolescents are still unclear of their identity status. They have not yet begun to explore the different career options and personal values. Number 2, identity foreclosure. A person makes a commitment to an identity before adequately exploring various options. For example, an adolescent may say she wants to be a doctor because that is what her family wants her to take and to become, rather than deciding on her own to be a doctor. Number 3, identity moratorium. A person is exploring alternative paths but has not yet made a commitment. Identity achievement. Number 4, a person has explored alternative paths and has made a commitment towards an identity. At this stage, certain pattern of lifestyle, behavioral modifications, values, and belief systems are integrated by the person into their own identity. Another concept here would be the parents and peers, because one of the biggest impacts on a person's life, of course, would be the parents within the family circle, and then the peers. Both parents and peers are important and powerful influences in the life of an adolescent. A person plays the role of an effective manager to help structure their offspring's choice in life. So by this part, we can say that parents have their certain level of control over their children's life. Why do we have to have control? Because we need to guide them towards what is beneficial, beneficial to their development and to their growth. The parents also provide guidance to help students make the right decision. But parents do not own their children's lives. They are just there to help them avoid as many pitfalls as possible. So that's why you have to have that certain amount of control, and to help them become a fully mature, independent, and functioning individual. Peers also have a great impact on adolescents. They spend more time with peers during this stage than any other stage in the developmental process. Peer relations can be negative or positive. Adolescents can learn to be sensitive partners, socially skilled individuals, and have high emotional quotient if they form close relationship with selected peers who complements or has the same values that they hold. Peers can also have negative impact if one does not choose to build relationships with. And then last point on this chapter would be as an emerging adult. If we go back to Erickson's socio-emotional stage of development, the other half of the 8 stages would be starting on adolescence. According to Erickson, The last three stages of development would be as an adult, as one transitions from adolescent into adulthood. There is a period called emerging adult. So you would be an emerging adult. You would be adapting behavioral patterns which are closely related to an adult. And also you have to adapt more responsibilities, and you have to be responsible over your own actions. At this point, if a person wants to be treated as an adult, they have to act like one. If you want to be treated like a child, then act like a child. So that it's as easy as that. Also, instability and self-focus characteristics are observable in emerging adults. The feeling of being in between is also a characteristic in this period, where one does not consider themselves adult yet, and also they do not consider themselves as adolescents anymore. So that's the end of the second chapter.